So a question I got asked today is, well, why exactly is JPMorgan up over 7% on the day? For those that are unaware, this is one of the biggest gains for JPMorgan, I think, dating back since 2010. But although JPMorgan is up, which is one of the largest banking institutions in the market, or at least in the US, why is it that the overall NASDAQ market is still down? Is there not that bank certainty following the Silicon Valley Bank? Well, let me go ahead and dive into this a little bit deeper. What's going on, guys? It's Ricky here. This video is going to be super short and sweet. I really hope that you learned something new, and if you do, please consider dropping a thumbs up and subscribing. To make this very simple, I'm actually going to link this down in the description for you, but it's the quarterly earning reports for JPMorgan. JPMorgan, out of the three overall banks, right, JPMorgan being one of them, Citibank and Wells Fargo, JPMorgan is the one that benefited the most from Silicon Valley Bank's failure. So let me explain. What exactly do I mean by this? Well, again, you need to understand how these institutions make money, right? There's depositors, people like you and I. And when small banks such as Silicon Valley Bank begins to fail, where do you think the people that have their money in regional banks and smaller banks begin to look for safety? It's larger banks known as, or as an example, JPMorgan. JPMorgan, out of the two other banks, Citibank and Wells Fargo, is the one that benefited the most according to their quarterly earnings because of how many more depositors. Yet, year over year, JPMorgan is still down 7%. And again, this is all broken down in their quarterly earning reports. So if you want to learn more about this, I encourage you, do your own due diligence. And I'm going to link it in the comment section down below. I'm going to pin my own comment, and this will actually be linked directly from jpmorganchase.com. So again, this is something that you can get access to. But the question is, again, to keep it very short and sweet, why is it that JPMorgan saw the biggest increase? Well, they beat at earning expectation the most out of the other two, Citibank and Wells Fargo. You can actually look a little bit more into it. I've broken these down before, where we see a 7.55% increase on JPMorgan, one of the biggest jumps that we've seen in quite some time. But Wells Fargo literally ended in the red, and then we have Citibank up 4%. So there is no question that because of Silicon Valley Bank's failure, institutions that are larger, such as JPMorgan, benefited from this. So what does this tell us about other larger banking institutions? Well, again, it's going to be very interesting to follow up, to see how something like Bank of America, again, another very large banking institution that probably benefited when these smaller banks either began to fail or when they were showing signs of potentially failing. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about is, again, recapping what we talked about in today's earlier video, and it's why is it that the market went down when banks reassured us that banks are doing fine even though Silicon Valley Bank failed? And it's because of how and what the Federal Reserve's excuse me for that. It's because of what the Federal Reserve will be kind of following up with, right? If they see that banking institutions are doing well, you have to think back of why did the stock market start rallying anyways, right? If you really think about it, the market was actually selling off when Silicon Valley Bank announced that it was failing. But it's because Silicon Valley Bank announced that it was failing that it was expected that the Federal Reserve will have to pause rate hikes because of what's going on with banks, so it doesn't put other banks in more turmoil, right? But now that we see other banks, larger banks, actually doing just fine, this means that the next interest rate hike on May 3rd, the Federal Reserve might just continue to raise interest rates and continue its fight against inflation. Again, at the end of it, we don't know exactly what it is that the Federal Reserve is going to do, but someone did say it in the comment section in today's earlier video. The plunge protection team always knows what it is that's going on. But I don't know about you. I can't predict the future. So one of the things that we try to prepare for is, again, simply focusing on market direction. And as of right now, at least based off of how this week ended, it wasn't the most interesting week, especially because of everything that was going on. If you guys actually look at the overall NASDAQ market and look at where we started the week to where we ended the week, it's literally a break-even week. I mean, we haven't experienced a week like this in quite some time, and it's very odd because this week was very, very unique. We had the CPI data report and we had the PPI data report, and then obviously these bank earnings that were reported, yet the market didn't do anything. And the part that I find very humorous about this is that it's probably next week, when not much is going on, that the market will end up choosing a side and we'll either begin to make higher highs, or we'll just begin to correct ourselves to the moving average because the market chooses to do whatever it wants to do. But nonetheless, again, I'm very excited to follow up and host our live sessions. A friendly reminder, I do trade live every single morning. I know a lot of you guys have been asking. Again, we are running our biggest sale. It's the second link in the description down below. It's a one-time payment, lifetime access, and you get to watch me trade live every single day. So if you're tired of guessing, if you're tired of doing this on your own, and you want an inside look to my entries, to my exits, and most importantly, my thought process in real time, then click that second link, learn more about it, and see if our LPP team is a good fit for you. Also, don't forget to enter our GTR giveaway, and that's that fourth link in the description down below. Appreciate your time. Hope and wish you guys an amazing Friday and weekend. And like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take it easy, team.